So my two favorite things in the world are playing Minecraft and reading about the absolutely wild drama that strangers post online. And honestly, why not do both at the same time? It's like comfort food for the brain, blocks and gossip. Tonight, I've got a couple of Reddit stories lined up. Relationship drama, of course, because nothing pairs better with the sound of placing blocks than judging strangers' choices. And while we read through those, I'll just be puttering around in my Minecraft world, tidying things up, moving stuff around, fixing little details that have been bothering me. Nothing too ambitious, just the kind of chores that make the world feel a little more lived in. All right, first up, we've got a lighthearted one. I skimmed it earlier, and it feels like the kind of story that won't ruin your night. Just a quirky little relationship puzzle. The title is, Am I Wrong If I Ask My Girlfriend Why He Only Orders the Largest Thing at Restaurants and then doesn't finish them? That's already so specific. You could just picture someone staring across the table and a mountain of fries slowly going cold. So here's the setup. This guy's been dating Cass for about 4 months. Things are going well. They've got a good rhythm. He's enjoyed every date so far, except for this one little mystery. Cass always orders the biggest thing on the menu, and then, like clockwork, she doesn't finish it. And now he's wondering if it's okay to ask her about it. And honestly, I love this because on one hand, it's such a small, silly thing. But on the other hand, if you've ever been the person who ends up eating the leftovers, you know this is a lifestyle choice that affects you directly. Like, is this a cute quirk or is this the beginning of a lifetime subscription to second dinners? Anyway, let's read on and see where this goes while I casually rearrange some chests and maybe fix that one corner of my maze that's been bugging me for weeks. Because nothing says romantic reflection like reorganizing your inventory. Okay, so here's the thing I keep circling back to. Whenever Cass and I go out to dinner, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter what kind of place, she always orders the biggest plate on the menu. Like the kind of dish that makes the waiter raise an eyebrow when they set it down. And then she just kind of pokes at it. We'll sit there chatting, laughing, having a good time. And by the time the check shows up, most of that mountain of food is still untouched. And of course, she takes it home every time. Now, the issue isn't money. I mean, even if she orders something pricey, I'll just scale back my own meal to keep things balanced. That part doesn't bother me. What's starting to get to me is the feeling of it. Like, we're going out to share a meal together, but she's barely eating in the moment. It's almost like the dinner itself is just a pit stop before the leftovers. And I can't help but wonder, why ask for so much food if you know you won't finish it? Is there something going on at home where she needs to stockpile extra meals? Is she not actually hungry and just saying yes to dinner because it's a thing couples do? And here's when my brain starts spiraling. Because as her boyfriend, I want to be supportive. If she needs help, I'm comfortable with that. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm overthinking this or if I'm about to cross some invisible boundary we haven't reached yet. Like, am I being a caring partner here? Or am I just the guy silently judging a to-go box? So here's the question that keeps floating around in my head. Is this something where I should just be upfront and ask her about it? Because obviously I get it. I really do. I've been in that headspace before, where you're paying for dinner and you can't help but think, wait, why aren't you eating the food I just bought? It's a very human little thought. But at the same time, I think you've got to be a little open-minded about it. If she wants to order food and take it home, that's not the end of the world. That's okay. And unless money is really tight, it doesn't feel like something worth losing sleep over. Now, if you are on a strict budget, I completely understand how it could sting watching someone order the most expensive dish and then barely touch it. In that case, yeah, maybe it's worth a gentle conversation. But it doesn't have to be a big, dramatic sit-down, just a small, honest check-in. For me personally, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. If someone wants to take their leftovers home, that's fine. It's not really about the food, it's about the time you're spending together. And if the food ends up in a to-go box instead of on the table, well, that's just part of the story. Besides, let's be real, half the time leftovers taste better the next day anyway. Okay, so here's where I draw the line. If she's ordering like 3 things off the menu and taking 2 of them home untouched, that's a problem. Yeah, I'd bring that up. But in this case, it just doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It feels more like one of those funny early relationship quirks that kind of bug you a little bit, but maybe you just learn to live with. Of course, if you do want to have a conversation about it, that's fine too. It doesn't have to be a big dramatic confrontation, just a small, honest check-in. But there's an update. And I'm very excited about this because I want to see where it goes. Did he confront her? Did she suddenly start eating more at the table, or did the mystery deepen? All right, here we go. Here's the update. Hey, everyone. So I posted on here a few weeks ago about my then girlfriend, Cass. Then girlfriend, oh no, that's never a good sign. You can feel the collective internet leaning forward in their chairs. So as the many updates to that dilemma, it turns out she was having food issues at home. And that's the thing, right? Sometimes what looks like a quirky little annoyance on the surface is actually tied to something deeper, going on behind the scenes, which is why these stories always pull me in. You start with a plate of leftovers, and suddenly you're in the middle of a much bigger conversation about someone's life. So here's where the story takes a turn. I offered to help, and she accepted. But in the end, it didn't really matter, because 2 weeks later, she ghosted me. And I'm not going to pretend it didn't hurt. Of course it did. But for the most part, I've moved on. It was a short-lived romance. And for what it was worth, I liked it. I'm not going to sit here and ask why she would do something like that. Sometimes people just disappear from your life and you never really get the answer. Oh no, poor guy. But here's the part that really sticks with me, the cliff. Cass had always wanted to go to the Met Opera, but the tickets were way too expensive for her. And since you've been dating for about 2 months at that point, I was feeling pretty good about things. I liked her, and I figured our relationship would at least last past her birthday. So I bought her a ticket. Just one, because the performance was on a day I had to work. I sent it to her email, QR code and all. She was grateful at the time, and then she never mentioned it again. And honestly, I forgot about it too. And that's the thing about relationships, right? Sometimes you put thought and care into something, and it just kind of vanishes into the background. You don't know if it meant as much to them as it did to you, and that can sting a little, even after you moved on. So here's the kicker. As I was removing Cass from my socials, the digital breakup ritual, I stumbled across her Facebook story, and there it was, a post about her early birthday present. She was so excited, couldn't believe it was happening, and of course, I rarely go on Facebook, so I never even saw it when she posted. And then I noticed the price tag, still sitting there, $224. Not gonna lie, I got a little salty. That's a lot of money to just vanish into the void of a short-lived romance. So I checked the website hoping maybe, just maybe, there was a refund option. Nope, of course not. The only thing they offered was an exchange for another show. And here's the thing, the opera isn't really my scene, and I don't know anyone else suitable to go. But part of me, petty, slightly bruised part of me, was tempted to just exchange the ticket out of spite. Like, no opera for you. And then the other part of me thought, wow, that feels really mean. Especially when this was something she always wanted to see. Maybe it's because I still have some feelings tangled up in there, or maybe it's just because deep down I know it will be kind of awful to do. And that's the messy thing about breakups, right? They're caught between wanting to be the bigger person and wanting to be just a little bit steady. And sometimes both voices are whispering in your ear at the same time. So here's where it gets messy in the best way. He's sitting there talking about how awful he feels at the thought of exchanging the ticket. Because if he does, Cass doesn't get to go to the thing she's been dreaming about. And honestly, part of me just wants to say, be petty, do it. She ghosted you, man. Exchange that ticket. Would it technically put you in the wrong? Oh, absolutely. But come on, she's been ordering giant plates of food, barely touching them, and then she just disappears out of your life? Take away her birthday present. Pull the rug. I love the pettiness. Or, you could just keep being the good person here. Accept that she vanished, accept that you're never going to see her again, and remember that you did something kind for someone you had a brief romance with. That's not nothing. That's actually kind of beautiful in a bittersweet way. And that's the tug of war, isn't it? Between the part of you that wants to be noble and the part of you that wants to be just a little bit spiteful. Both are valid, both are human, and honestly, that's what makes stories like this so relatable. Because who hasn't had that tiny, petty voice whispering in their ear? Are people really out here doing this? Just seeing each other for months and months, building some kind of connection, and then, poof, completely cutting ties? Not a word, not even a courtesy text? That's kind of wild. Dating culture has gotten, I don't know, a little unhinged lately. As if we've been seeing each other for months and there's clearly something there. He's buying you dinner, you're taking food home. It feels like the least you can do is say goodbye properly. I think I'm on the fast side for this one. And honestly, I wish him the best. All right, let's move on to the next situation because this one looks like a doozy. The title is My Boyfriend Opened Our Relationship. Now that I finally found one, he wants to close it. So, here we go. That's already messy. So the story starts like thanks. I come from a small town, everyone knows each other. I was raised in a very strict Catholic household. I had a pretty sheltered life growing up. No dating, no parties, none of that stuff. You can already feel where this is going, right? Someone who grew up with all these rules, finally stepping out into the world, and then, bam, straight into relationship chaos. Let's see where this one takes us. So when I moved to the city for college, it was like stepping into a whole new world. Total freedom, no rules, no curfews, just me figuring things out. And that's when I met my boyfriend. He was a little older and honestly the most amazing person I'd ever met. He taught me so much about life and suddenly everything felt exciting. I was completely over the moon when we became a couple. We've been together for 3.5 years now and I've had so many firsts within. Naturally, I assumed we get married. He was my one and only. Then about 8 months ago, he sat me down and he said he felt like their relationship was losing its spark. And in that moment, my heart just dropped. I thought he was about to break up with me. But instead, he said we should open the relationship, explore polyamory. He told me it's more normal now, that it could actually bring us closer together. And I was hurt. Like really hurt. I couldn't believe he'd even asked me that, but I loved him too much to walk away. And that's where things started to change. So he's my first love. And I didn't want to lose him. So when he asked to open a relationship, I said yes. He made some rules, but honestly, I didn't even care about the rules. I couldn't imagine being with anyone else. I only wanted him. But that first month, things didn't get better. I saw him less and less. He was always busy. And then I made the mistake of checking his social media. Yeah, don't do that. Because there she was, some girl posting him all the time. And I was burning with jealousy, but I couldn't say anything. When I did see him, he was sweet, like always. But I started to feel like he was just trying to make up for not being around. And I feel like I was the one doing all the work, planning things, testing first, chasing after him, holding us so tight while he just drifted farther away. Oh, this is rough. Then a few months ago, we were supposed to see a movie together, and he bailed on me last minute. Classic. But I went anyway, and while I was there, I ran into one of my friends, and she was with her older brother. And that's where things started to get interesting. So we ended up watching the film together, and afterward, we grabbed some drinks, and that's when I started noticing things. Like how attractive and funny her older brother was. And I swear I caught him looking at me a certain way too. Like maybe he felt something. I didn't pursue it though. This was all so new to me. Liking someone else felt weird. I wasn't used to anyone but my boyfriend. But then he found me on Instagram and we started talking. I told him about the open relationship, about being poly. And he was super chill about it. He said he was happy to spend time with me without worrying about cheating. And so we started hanging out more. And honestly, I didn't feel so alone anymore. I didn't feel like I had to beg someone for love. Even the little time I spent with my boyfriend started to feel like enough because my heart didn't feel so empty anymore. And then one day, after we become close friends, he just kissed me right on the lips. And it hit me in that moment. I have feelings for him. So here's the thing. He's a busy guy, but he always made time for me. He always invited me into his world and his hobbies, and I felt special. I felt giddy. Then, this week, my boyfriend comes to me and says, I think we should close the relationship and focus on each other. And I was confused because from my perspective, things were good, really good. So I asked him why, and he said it's time to think about the future, about building something serious. Then he brought up religion. He said, you're Catholic, you get it. If you want this to last, it should just be the two of us. And when I hesitated, he started guilt-tripping me. Like I was doing something wrong, like I wasn't thinking about us. And that hurt because I love him. I really do, but now I'm confused. I didn't ask for any of this. He's the one who opened the door. I only walked through it because I loved him. And now that I found a little peace, a little joy, he wants to slam that door shut again. And it just feels unfair. Yeah, it really does sound like the boyfriend's a little jealous that she found somebody of her own. And this is why. Look, if polyamory is your vibe, that's great. That's awesome. But it's not mine. And honestly, I don't think opening up a relationship is going to magically save it if you don't feel the spark anymore. That just feels like putting a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. And I mean, things were great for this guy when he found another person. But if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, right? Because as soon as your girlfriend finds someone of her own, you've got to be okay with that. That's what polyamory is. You need to be all right with it going both ways. So yeah, I think he was being a little greedy here, maybe even taking advantage of his girlfriend. I mean, that much feels obvious. But there's actually an update. And I'm kind of excited to see where this goes. Let's get into the rest of the story. So, we'll read this update and then make a final judgment at the end. Okay, so apparently this update is just 5 days after that initial post we went through. Let's see how the discussions have progressed in this relationship. I still can't believe people just give you these little windows into your vibes on the internet. It's wild. I'm like, this is just here for everyone to read, and here I am stealing it for content. This is great. So here's what she says. I spoke to my boyfriend and told him that I don't want to close the open relationship. I've grown to really enjoy dating the other guy, and it's not something I just agreed to do to experiment. I told him it should be a joint decision, and you can't just open and close a relationship as you please. And honestly, yeah, that makes sense, especially when someone else's feelings are involved. You can't treat people like light switches, flipping them on and off depending on what feels convenient in the moment. Relationships don't work like that. And this is where it gets really interesting, because now she's standing her ground. So I told him I was incredibly disappointed that he brought up my faith, knowing how much trauma and guilt I've carried from my religious upbringing, and how manipulative and unfair that was. He didn't respond to any of that. Instead, he just said, if you want a future with me, this needs to end or we're done. I told him, then it's done. Oof, he got heated. I was throwing away nearly 4 years of our relationship for a guy I'd only been seeing for a few months, and he tried to make me feel guilty. But I reminded him, he was the one who lost the spark. He was the one who wanted to sleep with other women. He was the one who opened the relationship in the first place. It wasn't me. I only agreed because I loved him, and I hoped he'd realize that I was the one for him. I didn't ask for any of this. After some time, he calmed down. We had a long, emotional conversation. He cried. He apologized. He told me he should have ended things instead of trying to fix our relationship with polyamory. And that's when it really sank in. Sometimes people don't want to face the truth, so they try to patch it with something that only makes the cracks deeper. So that's what I said. And he admitted it. He still loves me. He said seeing me happy with someone else made him feel jealous, even though he knew he had no right to be. He told me he probably deserves the pain, and he respected my decision to end it. We hugged and we agreed that even though our relationship is over, our first 2 years were beautiful. We'll always have a place in each other's hearts, even though our time together has run its course. And then she goes on to explain how she's gotten into a relationship with the other guy, and it's a happy ending. Apparently, he wanted to be with her all along, but he was too afraid to say anything because of the polyamory and the boyfriend. This is great. What a lovely ending. Get rid of the jealous guy who wanted to open your relationship. That's what I say. No, but really, you could see this coming, right? The relationship wasn't working months ago. And sometimes it just takes a messy detour for people to finally find the path they were meant to be on. You can't just open up a relationship that you don't feel a spark in. Like, you're not gonna suddenly re-spark your own relationship by chasing sparks with other people. That math just doesn't work in my head. I mean, I haven't done polyamory myself, but it feels like if you're no longer feeling that spark, going after other people isn't the answer. And then when your person starts dating other people, you're just gonna feel jealous like this guy did. Now, I don't want to hate too hard on polyamory. I know it works for a lot of people. And if it's worked for you, I'd honestly love to hear your story. But here's the thing, it has to be a decision between both people. You can't have one person who's really not feeling it, like in this situation, because the poster wasn't about polyamory at all. She just wanted to stay with her person. So yeah, the decision has to be made together. Both people have to be okay with it. Otherwise, it's not really an open relationship. It's just one person dragging the other along. So yeah, if you've got one person hedging, it's just not going to work. But hey, what do I know? Let me know your thoughts on that one. Anyway, check out the progress on the farm here. It's looking good so far. Got the 2 layers done, and I think I just want to add one more. I don't want to go too crazy. This is just a small farm to run in the background whenever I need sugarcane and whatnot. Okay, this last one is a little heavier, and I'll admit I feel a little less qualified to weigh in on it, but let's read it anyway. The title is, Am I the Jerk for Wanting to Divorce My Husband After He Left Our Newborn and Toddler with Our Teenage Daughter While He Went Out with Another Woman? That's already a lot. Here's what it says. I feel like I need some outside perspective on a really tough situation. My husband and I have been married for 19 years, and we have 3 kids together. They're a 13-year-old daughter, 2-year-old, and a newborn. Our journey to parenthood wasn't easy. We faced a lot of fertility struggles, and my husband has been my rock through it all. You can already feel the weight of this one, right? 19 years, 3 kids, a history of struggle and support, and now this. Let's see where it goes. That's why this situation has hit me so hard. Recently, I started thinking about divorce after I realized my husband had left our young children at home alone while he went out on what looked like a date with another woman. And it's been so difficult to process. I keep wondering if I'm overreacting, but deep down, I don't think I am. His parents seem to think it was just a mild mistake, but honestly, that's hard to swallow. So a couple of days ago, I decided to take a much-needed me day. I told my husband how I felt, and he agreed I could go out for a bit. I went out with my mom and sister. We had lunch, did a little shopping, even got our nails done. It was so lovely to just unwind for a while. I left the house around 1 p.m, planning to be back by 6. My husband was supposed to be home with the kids since we didn't have anyone to babysit on short notice. But while I was out, I started getting notifications from my ring camera. Around 5:50, I saw something happening at the front door. I called my husband, and he assured me everything was fine, that he was just picking up pizza. So I thought nothing of it, knowing he was supposed to be with the kids. Fast forward to 6 o'clock, I got another notification that he was back home. But because of the long wait at the nail salon and some bad traffic, I didn't get back until 8. And the moment I walked in, I knew something was off. His car was gone. I walked into the house to find my toddler playing with spit. My newborn was crying uncontrollably, and my teenage daughter was in tears because she couldn't calm the baby down. Whew. I quickly scooped up the baby, changed her, fed her, and got her into bed. Then I checked in with my daughter to see what had happened. She told me she didn't know where her dad was, only that he told her to watch the kids because he had something important to do. I comforted her, reassured her, because that was such a big task for her to handle alone. And in that moment, I just felt the weight of it all. How unfair it was to put that responsibility on her shoulders. I felt awful that she had been put in that situation. And then my husband finally came home around 10 p.m., looking somewhat drunk. When I asked where he had been, he casually claimed that he was with his wife and having a good time. It felt like a slap in the face. He took off his pants and acted as if everything was normal, completely dismissing what had just happened. The next day, when I confronted him about his absence, he lied. He said he fell asleep by 7:35. I was furious. I called him out for being dishonest, insisting I knew he'd been with another woman. I reached out to my mother-in-law and my own mom for advice, just trying to gain some perspective. My mother-in-law minimized it, saying it was a common mistake for men and that I needed to move on for the kids' sake. No, they need their father at home line. And since that day, I've been doing a lot of soul searching. Part of me wants to fight for our marriage, to believe we can work through this rough patch. But another part of me knows that some things can't just be patched over. However, another part of me is devastated and feels like I deserve better. I think about filing for divorce, seeking child support, and pursuing custody of the kids so I can give them a stable environment. So here I am wondering if I'm the bad one for even considering divorce. Am I overreacting? No. Should I be more forgiving because of our history? Or am I justified in wanting to leave this relationship for the happiness and safety of myself and my children? Oh boy. I'm always worried that some of these Reddit stories are fake, you know? Like maybe someone's just writing them for clicks. And a lot of them are. But this one feels kind of real. And even if it's not, it's something that happens to a lot of people. So my immediate thoughts? Oh my God, she needs to divorce his dad. There's no smoking gun proof that he was with another woman, which I guess is something. But he's clearly lying about his whereabouts. And you can't have that in a marriage. Trust is the foundation. And once that's gone, what's left? At the end of the day, I think she already knows the answer. She deserves better. Her kids deserve better. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. That's just untrustworthiness. He's clearly showing he can't be trusted. So, look, she's obviously not in the wrong here. I do think she might want a little more evidence before going full-blown divorce. But still, he left the house, irresponsibly left the children, didn't even send a text to say he was leaving them with their 13-year-old daughter. That's incredibly irresponsible parenting. What are you doing, dude? You're also cheating on your wife. You're just a terrible guy. Oh my God. Wait, hang on. We've got an update. We have an update. Okay, so this is 2 weeks later. Lada's gone down, and she says she really appreciates all the advice. And for those who think it was fake, well, that's just your opinion. Which is exactly what I was talking about earlier, right? We never know with these stories, but sometimes updates are where it all comes together. My husband and I went back and forth for a couple more days after my last post. I finally got him to watch the video, and it proved he was the one lying while saying I was lying. He just kept watching it, coming up with excuse after excuse. I told him that if our marriage fell apart, it would be because of his behavior that night. And I asked him a few things. 1, why did he leave our daughter with the babies? 2, what was he doing? 3, who was this so-called second wife? Yeah, I had that question too. All he could say was that I was being too dramatic, that I wasn't trusting him enough. I shot back, you broke my trust when you left the babies alone with our kid. I told him he had one chance to come clean, and if he didn't, we'd have to talk about divorce, child support, all of it. Still, he stood firm, saying, I didn't do anything. I was so frustrated. I asked him why he couldn't just be honest. His answer was, why do you think I was cheating? That's not trusting me. And just sitting there like, well, you're not giving her a straight answer, dude. I reminded him that he had admitted to being with his wife, his second wife, right in front of me. And he said I was drunk. I told him he shouldn't have gone out and gotten drunk without a way to getting home safely, especially while our kids were at home without an adult. He apologized, but that didn't change what he did. I told him his actions messed up our daughter's trust in him, hurt our marriage, and affected our parenting. But he just kept pushing his own narrative about that night. Then on April 17th, he told me I was overreacting, that we should keep it together for the kids. I reminded him. He lied to me, called me a liar, put our kids in danger, and wrecked our marriage. And that's when he snapped. He got mad, claiming there was a reason for everything, but he wouldn't tell me anything. Okay, 2 days later, on April 19th, he came clean and admitted that he's seeing another woman. There it is. He came clean and admitted he's been seeing another woman, even calling her his second wife. He told me that if I couldn't accept it, then it didn't matter to try and save a marriage that was already falling apart with only me holding it together. I shot back that since he was the one ruining our marriage, wrecking our lives with this nonsense, let it be. I told him he'd be the reason that our kids wouldn't have a dad in the house because of his selfish, ignorant, and irresponsible behavior. He lied to our daughter about her phone, put our kids in a tough spot, lied to me, messed up our marriage, and then tried to make me look like the one who was dishonest. Yeah. I mean, we all knew he was cheating, so I guess we were just waiting for the smoking gun, which was him finally saying it out loud. So, congrats to this person for sticking to their guns. To stand firm through all of that is just fantastic. I really commend them for doing that. What a wild ride. People really do just be out here cheating and getting caught on cameras. Honestly, I feel like Ring has single-handedly cornered the market on catching spousal infidelity. You can't get away with it. You're going to get caught. I'm good on this post, truly. And that's all the stories I have for now. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Makes you feel like I have a little self-worth when I get the number go up. Really. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye now.